contrary to the analogies that like Twitter is a dumpster fire, which, you know, it most certainly is, you know.
Parts of it.
Exactly. Online media has like the true capacity to like connect,
Yes.
learn, grow. That's how, you know, we found each other, and we're exercising that muscle right now with this, you know, conversation. But like you wrote a piece about the YouTube revolution and knowledge transfer that we thought was super, super interesting. So can you talk about that, and then maybe some of those things of now that this is in these fellowships and academia, this is a new ball game. This is a new landscape. This is what I'm kind of trying to,
Yes.
to thread these lines through, is that this is not your regular academia anymore. You can, the courses, a lot of different essays, websites, multimedia projects, etc. So maybe let's just riff on some of that, and then also tie it in with maybe a specific example of the YouTube knowledge revolution, which is very niche and specific, but then has general implications.
Right. I think that I'm rather contrarian, where we associate YouTube with these fairly boring topics, these like sort of like entertainment, wasting time.
Oh, I see.
And I wanted to write the sort of positive version of that, like something that's like a bit more uplifting, because I believe there's a reality there.
Sure.
And I started by simply asking people, you know, well, tell me, where do you learn practical skills? Like, where did you learn how to cook? Where did you learn? Where did you learn how to, you know, participate in crafts? Like, how do you actually learn to make that table and so on? And the answer was always YouTube, right? So it ended up being the case that almost everyone was in fact learning things over and over again by looking up a YouTube video. So instead of, say, asking a handyman, you would go and you would just watch the video. And I realized what was happening there. Why was that an upgrade compared to a written description? Well, because not everything can be captured by a written description.
Oh, that's so true.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there is a tacit knowledge to something like cooking, something like any type of craftsmanship, even something like gardening, and ultimately, yes, even things like open heart surgery. Sure. There's a reason why I really care about your surgeon being good. It's because the skill of the surgeon matters, and it's very difficult to proceduralize that so that any surgeon would be good as the best surgeon. And these are again areas where it's this sort of tactile almost memory, this almost muscle memory, this implicit know-how. So why is YouTube better at this than just, say, a film crew with a camera?
Sure.
Well, a film crew with a camera is only invited in these old-style BBC documentaries if there's an organization behind it, if there's research. As soon as you had a compact smartphone with a good enough camera, people started recording their everyday lives, including their work.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's an entire community of YouTube dedicated to making great furniture, where people are, as hobbyists, producing professional grade furniture, starting new companies. You have javelin throwers who win silver or gold, and they mostly train by watching videos of other javelin throwers who had professional coaches. And of course, you supplemented with very hard training, but the information was actually stored in those videos. And I think that's remarkable, right? When you see a person, a person carry out an activity versus a mere description of an activity, the mirror neurons fire in your brain, and you're very much primed to repeat or copy.
Wow. Okay, so then I'm going to give you an example of a practical example of this working in the positive is in the last year, I have been kind of obsessed with watching two types of videos. One, reaction videos. And so like I'm very interested in seeing people react and stuff. But then less so, that's more entertainment. The one thing that I love is watching this guy in Thailand who plays soccer with a GoPro camera. And he basically goes and plays, and I now watch that before I go play, because now instead of like watching like YouTube highlights, which was before, you would watch Messi or Ronaldo or something and try to mimic that, but then now it's getting to a point, and maybe he is making that thing of the POV. That is, I think, another thing that is going to be coming with artificial or AR, VR, etc. But then what is kind of the future of that? Is it going to be, and maybe we can kind of get into the difference of history and kind of things like that, but what is kind of the difference of, say, like holding a book and having some knowledge, and then the maybe not mirror neurons, or trying to figure yourself out of like you're in Tolkien's world building and stuff like that, fictionalized, versus something that you watch and then you try to do, because obviously you can't just watch it and do it. You have to maybe try and fail and et cetera. If you just read it, you just read it and it's in your head, head. So I'm trying to kind of just make that difference a little bit of like what the future is going to be even more so, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but maybe let's riff just on something like that. Is it going to be artificial reality, virtual reality, or is it going to maybe be coming back to, just solid video or in scales that people specifically create media and consume media in written, in audio, in video, etc.?
We've not yet reached the limit of what just high quality video will do. Arguably, yes, we are approaching this point slowly, maybe with TikTok, because I think one of the things that people don't necessarily consider TikTok will definitely do is it will change our mannerisms and modes of expression very fundamentally. Like if you're between 15 and 25, you're already being terraformed by TikTok. If you're between 20 and 35, your mannerisms were already terraformed by YouTube. In a way, this isn't new. Sure. It is new because Hollywood has often been imitated. It changes social norms over time. Say like in Eastern Europe, very reserved people, we don't smile much when we look at the camera. And in the early 2000s, there was a shift in norms towards more impersonal contact and hugging, which is basically imitation of US media.
Interesting.
Okay. Right. And older people that were 40 or 45 would comment on it and consider it unusual. So I think right now what's happening is instead of just it being imitation of actors, it is sort of imitation of the masses of people using TikTok. So it's a very fertile mimetic cycle. And I think we're just going to talk very differently and we're going to express ourselves very differently 20 or 30 years from now than we do today, exactly due to this feedback loop.
Right, and I can definitely attest to that, even in terms of let's go before YouTube, even Facebook and Twitter, or just coming on, or the World Wide Web in general. Like it has completely changed everything about everything, kind of.